All right, it's all yours, Doris.
Call to order the Board of Education Committee of the whole meeting on Monday, March 23rd, 2026. The Board of Education makes available at least one current copy of the Open Meetings Act, which is posted on the west wall of the meeting room and accessible to members of the public. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Okay, first up is Mr. Kaiser, and we're going to talk about the activity department sponsorship.
Thank you, Doris. And thank you, everyone, for listening to me here for a couple minutes. So I am going to present to you something I've been working on kind of throughout the school year, but especially this semester. It's kind of one of the goals I set for myself for this second semester, and it's something that I would like to kind of get the ball rolling on as the spring continues and the summer gets going into next school year. And so what that is a sponsorship, I guess you could say package that I would like to present to businesses in town as a means of building some funds for the activities department, so we can afford to purchase things that we see fit for our athletics and our fine arts. And so why do I want to do this besides what I just kind of explained was when I kind of took over the position, there were a few sponsorship tiers and levels and things that had been put in place, but as far as I can tell, there was not a ton of follow through, and it kind of fell by the wayside, whether that was from the change in hands from Mr. Randall to Mr. Brown to me, or whatever that may be. Most recently, there was one made for our video board that got put in at the Ozone. And so if any of you were around or remember that, there were some anchor sponsors and premier sponsors that we had contracts with, and they would provide yearly payments for that. So I want to put something more in place that is not just specifically for one item, but rather for a wish list of things that I think the activities department needs, and I will kind of go into that here in a little bit. But besides that, some other things to consider before I share with you what I have is our school budget is limited, and I will kind of go into that in terms of what I have to work with within our activities. And I think this is just, again, another means to try and raise some funds. With that, I do think that Beatrice and the students in our high school deserve to have good things. I think when you look at the Omaha West Sides, who just built a $43 million athletic complex, Omaha Scott, who just unveiled a $15 million project for an indoor sports complex, and then you look at some other things that our neighbors to the north in Norris and Crete and even Ralston, building different things to provide for their athletes. So I don't enjoy when people want to say that, why don't we have this, why don't we have that? Because when I hear those things, I'd rather do something about it than just get to listen to it every year from people. So with that being said, I will kind of get down to it, and then I know there are some questions that I will answer that were shared with me before, which I was very appreciative of. So there are some portions of this, and I am just going to go one at a time, and I'm going to kind of go through quickly just for the sake of time, but if you do have questions, or if I'm moving too fast, please let me know. So the first thing that I will pass around is this is an option for local businesses that would be to have their sponsorship for their business on the outdoor areas of our high school, specifically in the House of Orange. And so I kind of took this from another conference school, and they basically provide some packages for local businesses to put up vinyl signs along their fence line. And in my opinion, or where I would like to see it go, is as you're walking around the north end of our House of Orange, that is where you'd see these business vinyl signs. And you can see there's two tiers on this, the elite tier and the premier tier. The only difference is the premier is a little bit more expensive, but also your business does get announced over our PA system during any home event. So that's the simplest one in terms of what I'm going to be mentioning is our outdoor, and you can see that it's for our fall and spring seasons, since we do have activities that take place at those times. And this next one is an indoor-only sponsorship. And so the reason I kind of separated these is because there may be some businesses that have family or have students that are only in indoor sports or only in outdoor, so they may want to choose where they want to promote their business. And so this indoor one, you can see there's 3 levels on this, and I'll kind of go through the last one since that includes everything. It does provide advertisements on our video board, whether that's logos or videos. It would have public address announcements for every home event. You would be broadcast on our beam streams that go on for our activities. The spaces below our video board, those would also be part of that highest package that you would have a logo on. And then you can kind of see some of the other aspects there with activity passes and those kind of things. But that is our indoor and outdoor. And then the last thing, and this is pretty simple, it is essentially just a combination of both. If a business wants to go indoor and outdoor, you can see what we would be asking for that. I'll give you a second to look at that. Before I get to the questions that I know some people may have, I will, if there are any thoughts or feedback on this, I'd love to maybe help answer some of those.
This is strictly for sports. I would say that fine arts is just a different scale and typically don't do competitions, but there was a show choir competition that did bring in
Sure.
people from a number of places. Again, I'm seeing the amounts here and the way you're announcing, the way all this had happened probably wouldn't mesh well for them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I would say 2 points to that is, one, I could certainly, since luckily none of this is set in stone, where take your show choir events or your one-act plays or your concerts that you may have. Part of that sponsorship, and that's something we could easily add in there, is your sponsor gets put on the playbill or on the brochure. Thank you, program. Thank you. That is given out for each of those events as well. So you're right. That was something that could absolutely be added in there, and I think that businesses would enjoy seeing both of those, because my intention for what this does or what my plans are for this are not just sports specific. It's for all of the activities. So thank you for that.
Because I know about the high school fine arts boosters.
Yep.
I've been part of that.
Yes. Yep. And that's
the more we can work together.
Yes, for sure. I completely agree. And I actually, part of something I'm going to bring up in here in a little bit is in terms of booster clubs and how that's with this idea as well.
Because I'm assuming the booster clubs solicit from businesses also. So would they be continuing to do that?
So I'll kind of go into, it's a similar question to what I was asked before I came here as well, is would this replace any of the current fundraising activities, whether that's boosters or for other sports groups or fine arts groups? And so I would say no, I don't think that would necessarily replace. And what I mean by that is Booster Club, I know, for example, they always get donations for water for our concessions. That's one basic example. That is kind of a separate type of way of fundraising or things you're asking for versus funds that would go towards needs within the activities department. So everything that I would like to raise is activity department specific. It would be not with like the Booster Club, because the Booster Club, and I can go into what they do, they have kind of their own bank account and their things that they fund, and I would like to kind of separate from that a little bit, so that way we don't have to always go to Booster Club for different requests, where that may be more of an activities department request.
So raising for uniforms and
Exactly. Yep. And I know Booster Club, they do provide us with a donation each year for uniforms, which is great. But yes, things of those nature, or an example I've used recently, because it was brought to me, is a new pit, or a cover for our pole vault pit. And so, believe it or not, those are more expensive than you think. And I don't want to have to worry about paying for those things when those things I can argue are a need, even though they're not an immediate need. And so if we have those funds that we can start building, those are things I can say yes to a bit easier, versus having to worry about.
So did you ask the booster clubs how much of their annual contributions come from businesses versus individuals? Because I'll be honest with you, I can see the booster clubs taking a hit if the businesses are already donating to this. So,
Yeah.
how is that going to affect what they're able to do?
And that's, to answer your first question, I did not ask them that, and I don't know,
I can maybe answer this. So the way Booster Club has evolved in the past 3 years, we have earmarked $10,000 to go toward uniforms to the athletic department. Correct me if I'm.
I think it's a little less, I think it
Well,
was 5 or
that's-
6.
That's the top.
Oh, but that was, okay,
That's like if
gotcha.
we have it. We've not had it the last couple of years. And so I think if they do take a hit, it would just probably lessen that amount. But overall, I think I think it's a nominal fee that the businesses give. Well, I shouldn't say that, comparatively speaking. But if they do take a hit, I do think it would work out in the wash, because I think this would be bringing
So
more money.
supplement this.
Yes, yeah, because the other booster clubs, besides taking individual family memberships and stuff, they're, all the concession stand goes towards booster club too.
Is that, yeah. I
Does
think
the money
about-
from the sale of those ads in the programs, does that go to
That
Booster
goes to
Club?
Booster Club, but a lot of that is funding. Like, our biggest thing that we fund, other than student meals, are giving money for the uniforms to the athletic department.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
That's
thinking
where
also
those
the-
dollars go from, the
But
ad
I
Band-
sales?
think this would get more dollars than.
But we're gonna
that.
continue to do the ads,
I
and then
don't
we're
know
gonna
that.
also offer.
I'm retired from Booster Club.
yeah, 'cause I
No,
know
I mean, we
Well,
as in.
I will say this, and Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think another kind of offshoot of what I'd like to do here is, whether it's with the foundation or with the Booster Club, is figure out what exactly, I don't know if our Booster Club has an amazing vision in terms of what they want to do, or I think if you were to ask someone around town, what does our Booster Club do, I think they'd have a hard time answering that. Would you say that's correct?
Now that we've switched to just providing money for uniforms, it used to be coaches' requests. So a coach would probably come and say, we need a pole vault pit cover. And then the Booster Club would look and tier things and decide if we had enough money at the end of the year to do something like that.
And not to disparage our Booster Club, because they do, I even wrote it down here, they do our per diem for state athletes, they donations for uniforms, they pay portions to groups who help at concessions, they pay for meals for away activities, and they pay for a meal for conferences each year. And that's, I'm sure I'm not hitting everything, but I know they do a lot. So that's not to disparage it, it's more of, I want our Booster Club to have a specific vision that if someone knows what the Booster Club is, okay, I know that's what they take care of, and our activity department can take care of these things, if that makes sense. So I think there's so much, whether it's going repeat businesses, or you're going to businesses so many times to ask for money, there's such everyone's spread so thin in terms of how they can help or what they can do, that I want to try and streamline that to, whether that's Booster Club, I know you're responsible for A, B, and C. Activity department, you got the rest of this, and our foundation, you got this. That's my end goal, and I think this is a start to it, especially as we kind of head into our end of year, because I know I'd like to do some things for the start of next school year. So
I'm curious, Aaron, what is are you talking, you're not talking fine arts, you're talking
No,
the
this
Booster
would be
Club.
just
What
the-
is their annual budget?
That means I would have had to pay attention closer.
But you're a numbers person,
Oh,
No, I
know.
was just kind of curious.
I know we don't carry anything over, like
Okay.
we are tapped out by the end, because whatever we can give up to $10,000 goes to the athletic department. Or
Okay.
I guess athletic, yeah. for
And I
uniforms.
don't know about
That
And
would be-
uniforms, because that
That-
was a building
That
thing.
would- would
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
It's a substantial.
Is that fine arts or is
That would be the Fine Arts Booster Club.
Fine art,
And are you
yeah, high
active in
school.
that?
When I could get there, yeah. Mhm.
So, do you know where their fundraising comes from?
They do various feeds,
I mean, I get
sales.
something from them every
requests.
year.
They sell
The
ads,
booster club
they have a
quit
program.
asking for money after my child was out
Mhm.
of school, so, you know, it's just kind of interesting.
Some band instruments that they're replacing.
I'm not against it, I'm just trying to.
No, these are great
Just
questions,
like-
some things that I have been asked to me before, I haven't considered, so I
I
appreciate
think
it.
it'd be good to work with the Booster Club because like when they pay for those ads, it pays, or when they ask for the ad money, it pays mainly for the programs that they get with all the pictures.
Mhm.
And then they have that sponsorship t-shirt night where they give out the free t-shirt. I do think all of that, it's time could be revamped.
And that's really what I guess what I was kind of getting at is, what can we have the Booster Club be responsible for that we're gonna get it done every year and there's no question about it? I don't know if that makes sense. It's just more defined roles.
I will also say like the programs, it's kind of a pain because it always kind of switches hands when the parents are in charge of it.
Right.
Because when, you know, it's like you're there for 2 years or for 4, but, you know, you're really involved for 2 years and then you kind of taper out. It's what I've seen happen. So if that's something the athletic department took over, that would actually be easier to kind
Yeah.
of sustain it.
Well, and I guess again, another concern I had is that your businesses are getting asked over and over and over, and at some point they go, we're not gonna do anything, this is just ridiculous.
And that's,
You know, I think you really have to
Yeah.
coordinate with the booster clubs, who you're targeting.
yes, well, and you're exactly right, and that's kind of come across my mind, because like I said, for that video board, we had the premier and anchor sponsors, and to be honest, the upkeep in terms of who's kept up on paying their contract and not, I worked with Rachel the other day, and I think there's 4 to 5 businesses out of probably 15 or 20 that sent a check this year, and part of that's on me, but part of that is, I don't think anyone was really asking them in terms of, to follow up, but my point is, there were around 20 businesses that signed up to do something similar to this to raise money for a video board. Those would be my first people to reach out to and let them know, I know you get asked for a lot, I know you already have this, but essentially say, we're trying to start something new that is not a one and done, we're raising money for one thing. It is a continuous that whether you're done after 3 years or you want to roll it over, you can do, and you know exactly where that's going. So that was kind of where my thought process was with it.
Will you still allow individual teams to go out and do fundraisers as in approach businesses?
Depending on approach businesses, I know a lot of them that they have done, that they've collaborated with me or let me know about are things within our building or like kind of, I don't know, like selling bracelets or things of the like within there. In terms of going to businesses, that would be a conversation to have with our coaches and kind of set some guidelines for. I know there are certain schools in our conferences that they don't allow schools to even do, or activities to do fundraising without superintendent approval, which I'm not gonna make you do that. I don't know if you wanna add that to your plate. But I guess my point is there'd be some more checks and balances of who we're talking to because I know we already exhaust a lot of our businesses in town.
How's the management of all this work? I guess I come from the university and that's a whole different animal. But I know how much fun it is trying to work with the foundation when I was trying
Sure.
to get help for various things.
Sure. Well, that's a question I have some thoughts on. I don't know what the best avenue is for it, but essentially, I think you'd have to have a separate account for these types of donations to the activity department. Obviously, record keeping of when we spend, where is it pulling from that account, and then it's just more or less what we do already with our activities budget is checks and balances of are we keeping receipts of that, and it's making sure it's not going into my pocket. So yeah, I hope that it helps answer your question a little bit.
Can you tell me what the general budget is for athletics?
General budget, and it's hard because it is pretty fluid in terms of it can fluctuate. It's around $90,000 that we operate with, and just a couple other things to keep in mind. That also includes paying for officials, and for reference, one night of home basketball is about $1,000 just for our officials. And that's, not considering other officials for other sports, but also
That's just for athletics, excuse me. That's just 90,000 is athletics?
for the activities fund.
Okay.
Yep.
And what percent goes to athletics and what percent goes to activities?
I don't have an answer for you, I don't know.
And do you know how many students are out for sports versus activities?
The breakdown, I don't know, but between both over the first 2 semesters, I think fall we were sitting around 300 kids between everywhere, and it dipped a little bit in the winter, but part of it is there's fewer sports that we offer, and basketball is only put 5 on the court, and that kind of thing. Fewer kids go out, they tend to. So we're about 250 to 300, and about the same for this semester as well, or for this season, excuse me.
How much do they make off of concessions? That all goes to athletics?
That goes to Booster Club, that's separate.
Oh, but it goes to athletics.
Goes to Booster Club.
And Booster Club supports athletics?
They support student athletes, yeah. Like they're not buying,
So what's the difference?
well, like they're buying food for the kids,
Mhm.
things like that. They're not buying equipment and things like that.
Okay.
Is that, but they do.
Yeah,
have
equipment-wise,
recognition
no.
for,
It's-
uniforms at the end. But if there's an outside entity that comes and works it, we give them a portion to work it. So like if the cheer team, who's not a part of the Booster Club umbrella, works it, they get a cut of it. It doesn't go to the Booster Club.
So like when girls golf would go, I would buy snacks for the girls golf team and they were at Grand Island playing the course. So I would buy snacks so they have food throughout the day to eat. I got reimbursed for those snacks from the Booster Club. I had to turn in my receipts, turn in. But that's what Booster Club helps pay for, to feed the kids on their away events.
And then does Fine Arts do the same for students when they are going to competitions, music competitions and things like that?
I'm not sure
I
about
don't-
fine arts.
I don't believe so. I don't know if that's ever been worked out. I mean, I don't know if that's ever been requested or if I don't know. That has never been told to me or relayed to me that the Fine Arts Boosters does that.
So then what does the Fine Arts Boosters Club pay for?
We will pay, they do try to raise money on an ongoing basis for band uniforms, replacement band instruments, other, just trying to think of a variety of
Choreography.
type things that, yeah.
Building sets
Yeah,
for shows.
stage materials,
That's not part of the music department's budget when they do the plays and musicals?
So musical, yes, but for example, like our one act and our speech, that's through me, or that is not anything class related, or through that budget. Excuse me.
Did you think you'd have this many questions?
I figured. I was hoping I'd have 0. That'd be the best presentation.
I think overall,
Next
this would be possibly to supplement athletics or the activities budget to do this. Because I think you would have some, I don't have many businesses, but a decent number that would be willing to do this. Because you do see it at most schools. I would say most of the conference schools that I've been to away, if you're just in the gym, there's multitude of business advertisements throughout their gym, whether it's on the video board or it's just a banner or something along those lines. So
I think the entire thing needs to be examined, everything needs to come to the table. I just think there is, and I look at it from a very historical lens. When I arrived at Beatrice, I made $5,000 a year at concessions for the journalism for yearbook, to pay for yearbook. Booster Club ripped that away from activities, and it all went to athletics because nobody else got to do concessions. So I just think if we're gonna make a change like this, we need to look at all the sources of income, all the businesses, and say, what can we do
that helps all kids, helps athletics, helps activities, but that nobody then feels like they've got something taken from them that, and I also think businesses, because I hear it as a part of the foundation, our local businesses are overwhelmed. They just get asked over and over, you know, and it's a small guy, I hate to say it, I mean, not the hospital's very generous and they're a big boy, but when you go to try to sell stuff to, my kids went to sell ads, it was the locally owned business that said yes, year after year after year, you know, so I just think, I'm afraid to add, when I look at this, and am I clear that, like for the elite thing, it's $1,500 each year for 3 years, or $1,500 a year for 3 years?
Are you
So
on?
they will pay
Oh,
$4,500?
correct, over 3
Okay,
years.
all right.
Yep, that's
Okay.
correct.
I don't know, I think you've done a great job with the ideas, but I also get concerned about, I mean, it has taken our poor band how long to raise those uniforms are, I mean, there are people that should start a fund now for the next go around on band uniforms. I mean, they're really super expensive, and we like to have them looking good, you know? And I will take a little bit of I think this community has a fine-looking football, soccer, track stadium. So I don't think that, I'm not embarrassed by it at all. And,
No,
I
neither
mean,
am
so
I.
if you're saying
No.
we don't provide for our kids, I think we do. I think it gets more difficult, but I think we need to, before we add another thing, I think we need to figure out how all these things interplay and work with each other. And I think when coaches decide to have a fundraiser, it needs to be approved by you. They can't just all get together, and it's so hard with cell phones. I mean, I'll be sorry, but parents can just text each other and go, oh, I think let's buy some, I mean, dance team dinner, let's get some signs, okay. You know, 9 of the 10 parents say yes, and you're the 10th going, well, I guess I better say yes. I mean, I'm sorry, I think we need some policy, so these things are approved before kids hit the streets, but.
And I would agree, I think your concept is good. I
Yeah.
think there's just a lot of other things that will come into play in order to make this a successful
Yeah.
program. You know, and I think when you go out and discuss it, you have all those other pieces in place
Mhm.
also. I think it's a
Elementary's,
good idea.
yeah, elementary's going out for that little cart thing that they do, and that's good and it's fun, but I think we need to look at all the ways we're going out into the community asking for support. And what is the support that we need, you know? I mean, I don't have any idea what the budget is for, you know, like, I don't know how much it costs to have a person come in to ref or officiate anything.
Everyone's gonna have a different opinion
Mhm.
on what the priorities are, so somehow, we need some kind of, that's why I was talking about a board, administration, a group to coordinate the various needs and come to a solution that may
Right.
involve compromise.
Well, we need to separate the fact from what we think, the needs from the wants. I mean, everybody wants, when you're in that activity, you want the very best. And what's actually needed.
And you mentioned at the beginning the different schools unveiling different things, and you talked about a wish list. Is there something you can share with us that's on your wish list that you'd like to see get done with the funds that could possibly be raised by sponsorships?
Yeah, I mean, one thing on there I know is a new scorers table for our gym. I think ours is outdated and there's not one in our auxiliary gym at times we need it. And I think we could use an upgrade, for example. So that's something that I could put on the wish list that then we can come back a year later and show people this is something we can cross that one off and, you know, would add to it or whatever it is, so.
Do you have time for this? Do you have time to do all of this, plus get all these officials, get all these schedules, get all these? I mean, this is gonna be a lot of work.
Yeah, well, I think there's work to be done because unfortunately it has not been kept up to what I think is necessary for if we're gonna keep up with people in our conference and people in our class, I think something like this, we need to start somewhere, I guess. And so this is by no means perfect, and, but I'm gonna make time. I mean, I think it needs to happen, so. I know Kearney, and I know we're not at the size of Kearney. I know their activities department, they raise over $160,000 a year with things like this. And I think there's no reason we can't do something similar, or at least put something in place to get there.
Do you have people that can help you with it, or have you earmarked who you can go to and say, can you take this piece of it?
I think I know who I would reach out to and would ask for help. I wouldn't say I have put a list together yet, but that is something, yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
start here.
And I'm not, yeah, I talk a big game too. I'm not saying I can do this all by myself. I will need great people to help, but I just want to make quite clear, I think we need to start somewhere with this, because right now in my mind, it is not really there at all. So,
But you need to have those people in place, because I know when the athletic complex was built, they did not have people that did the billing and that kind of thing, and that took us a long time to collect those dollars. So I would suggest that you have those in place before, rather than after. But I guess I would like to see like what this wish list is and what the total budget is and where all this, like, I don't know these meals things, I hear about these meals. I've never heard any kids say anything about the meal, so I don't know how that's all working. And how much money is how much is that's costing?
So with these different options, are we providing anything new to these possible sponsors where, like, before it was just a banner, then now it's grown to on the billboard, and is there anything new that we can hit them with, like a new?
Oh, in the future, that's a great question, and not that I've,
So they know
I guess
that,
not
hey,
off
it's
the top
not
of
the
my
same
head.
old.
Right, that's
So
a
we're
good
offering
question.
this.
Yeah.
I think the PA announcement, the beam broadcast,
Yes.
we've never done that.
Because the Beam broadcast was itself a different fund too. So that's the thing, is if we bring it all together, well, Beam's not asking for, Beam would have to be a part of this conversation too, because Beam would not ask for additional funding. I think we would look at them to say, how are we, because that would be something new
Right.
that you would add in the PA. We've never done that one before.
Because who gets the money when you get your logo on the gym floor? Who gets that money? Where does that go, or does it just go to making the gym floor?
That will be,
It goes to making the
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's about a $60,000.
Back in the old days,
Expense.
say a big
I mean,
banner behind a plane
every other year.
flies around. But maybe in the newer days,
We can
drones-
just
We have an
worry
airport,
about
this
that
is
one.
great.
Exactly.
But
Not the airport.
There's our, did you say that's the addition?
So what's
That's
the
right.
next steps for this then?
yeah,
Does the
lots
board
of
vote on this, or does he just go ahead with this, or what do we do? At the board meeting, or?
I guess I don't know that this would need board approval necessarily. It's more of a education that we're doing this.
I see lots of opportunities.
I don't know what he's.
I'm just asking,
Yeah.
I don't know. But if he does that, and then we don't get any of that coordination with fundraising efforts, I think that's not a good thing. I think there needs to be some coordination. Because I'm guessing there are maybe some, yeah, I just think that.
I'd love to see continued movement, authorized, hey, keep working at it, keep coming back and keep us notified as to what's happening
Yeah.
and you're hearing a lot of.
I
comments
think,
today.
I don't know, I think if we are going to allow them to go out and do that, then I think we need some board oversight on it, I'll be honest. I think just saying, oh, that's nice, you gave a report, now go ask the community for $4,500, ask a business. I think that kind of crosses the line a little bit.
What would you see board oversight needed for? I mean, if somebody's willing to give us money towards activities, then
But I want to make sure that it's going for activities and athletics. Because I'll be honest, when Booster Club came up, when they sold us on giving up concessions, they said, oh, well then we won't have to do anything else. They'll have concessions and you won't have to worry about. So then, are we leaving anybody out of this picture? And
Well,
I think going out and selling, I'll be honest, that there used to be a board policy, people, you couldn't go out and do that. And then we decided, then they let the newspaper go out and sell advertising. Well, obviously we don't have newspapers, but it's just gone. We've got everybody going out and selling now. We used to not let anybody, and now we have absolutely everybody going out and selling. And I think coaches and activities feel compelled to do that if they want something. You know, I think there needs to be a limit on how many times we go out into the community and ask for help.
Yeah, I think what I was trying to say is not an authorization to go ahead and make this happen at this point, but to continue developing plan, try to address the kind of concerns that we're coming up with. Keep the idea alive.
Right,
And see what can develop.
I think that's part of the concept behind your plan, if I understand correctly, is with this proposal, it does start to limit back how much people go. And I think that's a conversation that, as you said earlier, would have to happen or transpire with coaches and activity sponsors, and so on and so forth.
Well, I think at a minimum, it would be appropriate to have, not necessarily a board policy, but at least a policy amongst the activities, sponsors, coaches, directors, that they get approval from you at a minimum before any fundraising starts. So that way you can, kind of make that decision and say, well, this is now crossing over to this. So I don't think it's appropriate this time, or if it's, I don't know.
But that would have to be a policy, wouldn't it be?
Well, I think it's just more of just a athletic director direction to his coaches and or club sponsors and or band directors and so forth, that any fundraising activities just at least need my approval. So then we have a little bit more oversight, and you could say, well, football, well, band's already doing this, so I don't think it's the appropriate time right now, so you can kind of have those conversations maybe amongst the different groups.
But if it's not policy, it won't happen. If we don't make it a policy, it will not happen, and if it's just up to him, that puts a lot of weight on him. Say, well, I said you had to do that. Well, no. The board said you needed to have a policy, a fundraising policy in place.
Do you know, we have one on crowd fundraising, I remember
It's
when
crowd
that
fundraising,
came
okay.
up, so.
Because I'm like, I thought we had a policy on.
Booster Club has one for the teams. If they raise so much, or if they go out and do an extra fundraiser, then they can't get the Booster Club.
I'll be honest with you,
Extras.
I don't really like the idea of you being the last guy standing, that they have to ask. That really puts you in an awkward position with coaches and staff. I'm not so sure it doesn't need somebody in administration. Whether it's one of your principals, or, I just think it really puts you in a bad position, because if you say yes to one person because you can see the need and no to another person, it's just difficult for you.
yeah.
I just think
And you have to work with them all the time. I know Jason does too, but Jason, I think, either you or Jackie or somebody should sign off on any fundraising. You could approve it and say, I want this to be done, but I would have a final say from somebody else.
Do you think you can develop some guidelines, policies, and
Easy.
give it to us and take a look?
Yeah.
I don't know, Jason.
We do have a fundraising policy. We might want
Let's
to,
read it.
I was gonna say, we did,
yeah,
I
we
thought
might
we
want to
did.
look at
I
that.
want copies.
Can I send you the link? It's
Yeah, but
policy
before
13.
he proceeds, I
Yeah.
want to look at
Yeah.
the policy and see what it says.
I like the overall idea. I think there's just a lot of different stuff.
I think activities in general is just, it's difficult. It's difficult because there's so many weeds and variables. I mean, Kale, I appreciate the work you put into this. I
Yeah.
think there's a
Yeah.
lot of work that you put into it. You deserve a pat on the back for that. Thank you, because I think you're taking something that has not been organized in the 8 years that I've been here by anybody, and you're trying to put some parameters around it and some coordination and some organization to it. And so thank you for that. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when you've got so many tentacles that are a part of this, that people want to think they understand, but don't understand. It's just like, from the general fund perspective, we supplement, when I got here, the general fund was supplementing the activities fund, all activities, $50,000. That was the same amount that a Class C1 school that I came from was supplementing their activities department. That's not enough. Last year, we supplemented the activities funds $90,000, plus $35,000 towards the band uniforms, plus help wherever else the general fund can, and all the sponsorship salaries come out of the general fund. They don't come out of the activities fund. So it's really, when you start talking about activity, it's very difficult, but I think, in fairness to what you've tried to do, thank you for trying to put some organization to it, because it hasn't been, and I think there's a lot of moving parts to it that it's gonna take some time and some effort. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate the initiative. It's great getting this going.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Nielsen will talk about breakfast and lunch.
Okay, so you are getting 2 4-piece paper. The top 2 focus on breakfast and lunch prices. The bottom 2 will focus on the next topic of transportation costs. So on the breakfast and lunch prices, the 2 documents you have in front of you is the recommendation for next year. The document underneath is, let's look at the budget a little bit closer and the expenses a little bit closer, and why we are making the recommendation we are making. So as you start on the breakfast and lunch prices comparison, the table, you will see here are 7 different items that we get quite regularly. You can see their cost in 2021 as compared to what their cost is now. So, like juice, we have a box of 44 total, 26 cents for it in 2021, 26 cents for a box. We're now looking at 32 cents. There's the tropical juice that went up from 24 cents to 32 cents. As you look at milk, milk has doubled. We really have not touched the price of milk in a long time. And so those are what we looked at when we are making the recommendation. The other part that we are looking at is just what Dawn spends on buying food. So right here on these expenses, this is, in 2021, we spent $536,000 to buy food supplies. Last year, we spent $742,124.59. That is a 38.4% increase from 2021. So that is huge. Dawn's budget is very tight. So when equipment breaks, when other things come up, or the cost of a food item increases substantially, she incurs that. She pays for all of her staffing. She takes care of everything. The other thing about the nutrition services budget that you've heard me talk about over and over again is it has to remain positive. So if it goes into the negative, the general fund has to cover it. And so then we have to take funds from the general fund and cover the expenses that we have looked at, cover the expenses that we have incurred. So as we look at this, we are currently in 2026, as of February 28th, we are sitting at having $550,889.76 expended on supplies, food supplies at this moment. So we are on track to continue to spend right around that $750,000 mark this year as well, and I do not see it going down, unfortunately. We would like it to. So as we look at this year, we really are looking at the budget and trying to determine what we have to do to make sure that the nutrition services budget stays positive. We are looking at an increase of 15 cents for meals, and milk increases by 5 cents. So this would still keep, if you look at the a child's meal would still be $4 and under. The adult meal would be $5 and under. So you would still be under what it costs to go get a value meal at a fast food establishment. You'd be way under that piece. Our reduced prices do not change. Free prices is still free. So the reduced always has to stay at 30 cents and 40 cents, or 30 cents for breakfast, 40 cents for lunch. These are for your full pay families that we would increase by 15 cents.
I have to ask this, because I'm sitting here so confused. On the mill, you are showing in 2021, a 250 total
Yes, so
versus 150. Why are we not seeing what the price would be for 250 this year? The same with,
because we order it, the thing is we order 150, that's what they come in. So they have reduced the number you're getting,
I asked the same question.
yes.
I mean, to me, it's confusing
Yeah.
because I would have liked to have seen the comparison of, we got 250 for $66.88, and this year it's going to be 250. If we get
Yes.
250, this is the price. That to me would show a better comparison.
Yeah, because it looks like it's going the opposite direction when it really is not.
Yeah.
I mean, because you look at, and that's why I put the 250 there, is because we were paying $66.88 for 250 milks. But we're now paying $62.48 for 150 milks.
But you still need 250 if that's what you were buying.
Yeah, I mean,
So
but
what is
we are
our-
ordering them in a bulk of 150 now, they don't have the 250 anymore, so.
I think if you look at the
they've
per unit,
reduced-
it's
Yeah.
apples to apples.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, and I should have taken off maybe the totals, but then I thought,
The per unit makes it apples to apples.
Yeah, I
So it's
see the per
double,
unit, yeah, I mean, it looks strange to see that,
Yes.
62.
If you do the math, it's, yeah.
I need my calculator.
On the 2021 expenses, is that number so low because there was some government funding to help pay for
no,
during that time, or is that like from COVID, you know?
that is from, that was the cost of food
Well,
was,
We weren't always in school too.
it
so-
would have been 20, this is 2020, 2021, I think it was 2019, 2020 that we got out for that quarter. So the
About
cost
this
of
time.
food,
It went up that much.
it went up that much. That's the thing, is the
We
cost
all
of
see it in the
food.
grocery store.
Right,
It's-
yeah.
This
Yeah.
isn't surprising.
But that's just a big number between 21 and 22.
It is, it's huge. Yeah, so that is, yes, it's one of those things, you see the numbers and it's not fun to look at. And so one of the ways that we supplement our school lunch program is through what we gather from families.
I mean, I think,
Helping to pay for their
overall,
lunches.
15 cents basically as an increase isn't huge, you know.
But
I don't know
the
what
way
that
it's going
percentage
currently, I
is.
mean, is that gonna be enough? Because groceries are going,
That is a question that we've
Great
asked too.
question.
Yes, and that's the hard part, is we cannot see what's going to happen in August, and we need to get the prices prices set for the following school year, and so that is the hard part.
So just for,
6% increase.
Mhm.
just for a reference point as well in terms of the nutrition services budget, when we talk about being halfway through the budget cycle and what's expended, 64.68% of our budget is expended, and we're halfway through. So,
Mhm.
and it's, when you look at the numbers, it's all in the food. And that's because the cost of food, what's gone up since just last September to where we are now. So,
And that's always been self-supporting, hasn't it?
yeah.
Yes.
Is it going to break even this year, do you think? You know,
We are monitoring
It's
that
a-
very
saying what
closely.
you just said.
Yeah, we are monitoring it
Or
very
are we
closely.
not feeding them like the last
Yeah,
few weeks
no.
of the year or something?
May, sorry, bring your own lunch.
Yeah, bring your own lunch.
I
Yeah.
think your question is valid, and so with that question, there is an outside chance that we could be amending that budget.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think we'll have to, but we'll have to monitor it very closely.
Lots
Good
of
question.
spaghetti meals,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
lots of pasta.
Yeah.
So these will come to the board in April for approval. If you have any questions between now and April, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will tell you the other thing that, again, I cannot thank enough are the donors that help those families that are struggling, because we have amazing donors in our community who help provide school lunches and help our families make sure that every child has a healthy meal. So, cannot thank them enough. Okay, moving on to topic 5. The fun one is transportation. Transportation is another place where we are looking at making a recommendation to increase prices by 25%. There are 2 documents in front of you. The first one shows what it would be for a 25% increase. The second one has 3 different tables on it. I'll go through the second one first. The second page talks about what our current pricing is. So currently, we, students with free and reduced meals pay $160 for a year, and then all other students are paying $320. We offer one-way, so if you just need to ride to school in the morning because your parent can pick you up in the afternoon, that is an option as well. The second 2 tables, the table 2 and table 3, talk about districts that are similar in size to us. The current pricing for District A, it's similar in size, but it is a little smaller. They have similar demographics. They have a higher free and reduced lunch rate in this district. Actually, both have a higher free and reduced lunch rate than Beatrice Public Schools does. And the year payment for this district is $1,071 for your first student to ride for the year, and $910.35 for each additional student. And this is for those students that do not qualify for transportation based upon state statute. So we're talking more so your in-town residents. So that is what one district does down the road. Another district down the road, similar in size, yet they are a little bit bigger than Beatrice, but again, their demographics, they are higher in free and reduced lunch rate. Their round trip annual is $455. The second student adds $145. They have a family rate of $600. We don't have a family rate. That is something that we can look at. But notice the other thing both districts do is they don't have a free and reduced lunch rate. So we offer a discount for our free and reduced lunch families as we look at this. The other piece that when looking at both districts, they use a payment that is a quarterly payment. Currently, we're offering a monthly fee. I will tell you that's very difficult, and it disrupts transportation every single month. It is very hard. And so what we are looking at, if you look at the recommendation, then that first page, One of the things that we are recommending is the 25% increase. The second thing we're recommending is to go to that quarterly fee. It makes it much easier for us to gather the funding 4 times rather than 10 times. And so the other thing is it will disrupt transportation less, because when we have to call families at the beginning of the month, we give them a little while and then it's, well, your kids can't write down. Well, your kids can't write down. So there may be a week every single month that their children are not riding the bus. And it just, that's such a disruption for a child, and we don't want that. So as you look at it, everything went up 25%, and the other thing that we did was we looked at the additional student, and we had done 50% for the each additional student. We are now moving that up to 75% for each additional student. So as we look at this, why are we doing this? One of the things we noticed this year is that we generated about $25,000 with our bus transportation fees that we were able to get in. I had thought that we were going to generate $99,000, but I had not figured out families pay, so they pay $160, but then each additional child was $80. So I did it times the $160. That's where I was off on my math. I will admit to that one, that was, oh, I'm like, oh, that's where I went wrong. So we generated approximately $25,000. The cost of transportation was $850,000. So we generated approximately 3% of the transportation budget. And what we generated helps cover the transportation budget. So the other thing that we know is that next year they will be increasing, they've already told us that they will be increasing at least by 10%. With the price of a barrel of oil at this point in time, Jason and I have talked, I don't know how they can just go up 10%. I think it's going to have to go up more. We will be in conversations with them this week, maybe next week, whenever we can set up a meeting time.
Trying to get, meeting schedules coordinated.
Yeah, so that is the hard thing about transportation. I think eventually there will come a point in time where we will start looking at routes and in-town routes and just offering transportation for just those individuals that meet state statute.
Because isn't that, I think last year when we looked at this, aren't there some similar districts that will offer it, but it has to self-sustain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever income is brought in, it helps, it's budget neutral. So if you only got 300 kids riding and whatever the transportation cost is,
Mm-hmm.
that's what the price is.
Yeah.
So how many routes do we run?
We run 9 regular routes, 2 special ed routes, 4 preschool routes, 4 preschool routes, and then it's either 2 or 3 I think it's 3 midday routes. Yeah. So we have quite a few routes. I mean, that is, and
Special
They
education
do.
routes are reimbursed.
Okay, and that's where you come up with the 850, because if I recall, that budget was higher than,
Yeah,
I thought it was closer to $1 million for the actual budget
for, you mean the.
for
what-
transportation.
What the contract is? I'd have to look at what the contract is, but,
it is roughly $82,000 to $87,000 per month.
yeah.
Is what we pay for
Okay.
10 months. Now, there is summer transportation, but summer school pays for the summer transportation, so we put that into the summer school budget, and that comes back from the state.
And I could be thinking a gross amount before we get the sped reimbursement.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's always a year in arrears, so.
Did people riding the bus go up this year?
No. Mm-mm. It did not.
Last year did it?
Last year, it did. We saw a little bit of a decrease this year, and I will tell you the one thing that we've had one family that we've worked with and we had a donor who helped fund their bus pass and paid for their bus pass. But we've had only one family that we know of that has said transportation is the reason why we cannot get to school. So again, if we have a family that we know we need help and support from, we have amazing donors that we can go to say, hey, or they come to us saying, hey, we'd like to give funding. There's also our foundation that has a Lady Mary's Fund that, could help provide transportation. So there are ways that we can help families in need.
But are we unique in providing transportation?
Yes, we are pretty unique in providing transportation. Yes,
Cost
we're
of
one of the few.
Yeah, the cost of transportation, I feel if you broke it down, how much is because of gas, how much is labor, how much is the buses? In other words, just trying to think increases.
I would need to get that from the company because we just get a lump
Sure.
sum for
Yeah,
each
yeah.
route.
Yeah.
So, because you're right, they still also have to give increases in salaries to all their bus drivers, and provide for them. So, and the buses all need maintenance, and, we like to have the 70 passenger buses because you can fit more students on them, so replacing those, keeping those, updated.
I
Yeah,
mean, think about, Doris, the total amount compared to how many teachers that could be. I mean, that's,
mhm.
you're looking
Yeah,
at
that's
probably.
what I'm wondering if we need to have that discussion at some point.
I think
I mean, it's a lot.
What are some
Yes, it
similar
is.
districts that do not provide it around
Did-
towns?
you mean similar size
Yeah,
districts?
aside from, like Freeman and.
Right.
Seward does not provide it. I have not
So
checked
that'd be a
with,
comparison, yeah.
that would be a comparison. I've not checked with York. I don't think they provide it.
Crete was the one that asked, like, they have to be self-sufficient, right, to continue to provide it, so
Mhm.
their cost was pretty high, if I remember
Mhm.
right, last year, for a family to pay.
Mhm. Yes, they do. Yes.
So would your recommendation from you two be to discontinue busing?
Not right now.
Yeah.
If the 2.5% cap comes in on revenue by the state, which isn't part of tonight's discussion, but you've heard me, you've seen it in the legislative information that I've sent you. If that 2.5% cap comes into play, and I will say this for all of our viewers, transportation is gonna be one of the things you're gonna have to look at cutting,
Mhm.
along with multiple other things, because if you don't have the revenue, you can't provide the services.
Mhm.
And you will not be the only district, I can guarantee that as well.
So I think a 25% increase changes to just continuing to find ways to supplement, to help, I think is a start.
I think the other thing that we will probably be looking at is right now, when you do the math on the routes that Jackie talked about, we could look at cutting back on some of the routes, which, would decrease some of the costs as well.
Mhm.
Instead of providing 13 routes, regular routes, we could.
9 regular routes, we go down to 8.
Well, I certainly see the 25% as justifiable.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Perfect, so that will come on April's meeting as well. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Alexander, you need some policy updates.
I'll try and be brief. I know we've been here quite a while tonight, so as we talked about last September, I believe it was, there were some policy updates that Perry Law Firm was gonna be sending out to us. Those red line policies are in front of you. Real quick, policy 1040, these will have to be approved by you at the next board meeting as well. And the reason they're coming out now is because a lot of them are due before the next school year starts, or this summer even. Some of them become effective July 1st, so that's the reason why we're doing some mid-year policies. Policy 1040 is an annual report on the Computer Science and Technology Education Status Report. Starts December 1st, 2026. Policy 3540, bidding construction projects, requires the State Board of Engineers and Architects to adjust the threshold for architecture and engineers on construction projects. The project adjusted the amount to $144,000, which is now reflected in 3540. Policy 5601 is asthma and anaphylaxis. That is that
Page
3540?
two says,
page.
page two
Oh,
says
sorry,
144.
sorry.
Okay.
Don't stop. Keep
Okay. Policy 5601, asthma, anaphylaxis, and allergic reaction, just requires that the anaphylaxis policy must also be included in the student handbook beginning in the 26-27 school year. In addition, DHHS issued a new guidance document for anaphylaxis that does not need to be adopted into board policy, but can be shared with your staff. And then policy 7050, bids and contracts. This one we already have been abiding by. Changes the state board adjustment to $136,000. If you're going to, for the threshold is what you have to adhere to. If you have anything over that, it has to be bid out and have an architectural stamp or engineer stamp on it. There are still more policies coming that we will be bringing to you probably at the next Cal meeting that we just haven't received from the legal counsel.
Can you tell me, is there, why do we have to write information, student progress on computer science and technology courses? Is that a particular
That's the
senator that
graduation
thinks that's important, or?
You remember a couple of years ago when they made it a graduation requirement?
Uh-huh.
So now we're required to give a report on it.
So I give a report on financial literacy, that's because it's a graduation requirement. I now have to give a report on computer science, so look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's form a committee. Is there more?
That's it?
That's it? That was
Well,
brief.
for policies, that's it.
Now we're moving to administrator and classified staff salaries, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
so as you know, we go through the process of negotiations with certified staff. That process has a committee that went through and was finalized with teacher certified staff salaries at about 3.41% for this year. So now, we need to get administrators and classified staff salaries finalized as we start to approach May, because we have to have that all into the Blue Cross Blue Shield and turned into them for insurance purposes. So when looking at administrative salaries for 26-27, I propose a 3% increase for administrators, which would keep them or move most of them into the 98 to 102% that we try and talk about with certified staff as well. That's with current staff. It would cost the district $27,512. So that's with administrative salary. However, you all know that some of our administrative staff is leaving and changing, so that will impact that number a little bit. And as we talk about that, we did conduct interviews today for the middle school principal position, and we had 2 external candidates and 1 internal candidate. We had four applications overall, so we interviewed 3 of the 4, and I'm pleased to announce that the unanimous candidate selected by both committees was Mr. Craig Stengel. So congratulations. We are excited to welcome him to the head principal position. And as I said, because of the change of Andrew moving out and Craig moving in, and then we will start searching for an assistant principal, that will change that number a little bit. So, but $27,512 would be administrative salaries cost to the district.
Salary and benefits, like total package?
Pretty small. Classified salaries, which are all hourly salaries in the district. These are a little more difficult because there's so many different people that it impacts. We've really tried to make changes in the last several years because of the $15 minimum wage, if you remember talking about that so much in the last several years. We've really tried to get to that point, so we've made a lot of changes to the salary schedule. We've made a lot of bumps and increases to get that high. So, in looking where we're at right now, I think what I've tried to do, to be honest with you, is say, okay, if we did 29 cents per hour, that would be a 3.06% increase, and it'd be $167,000 $10 cost to the district. A 30-cent per hour increase would be 3.2%, and that's $179,153. 41 cents an hour would be 4.06 and be $221,741. I would recommend somewhere around the 3.5% mark, or somewhere right around the $200,000 cost to the district. I think that's fair in comparison to where we're at with everybody else, and I think it's going to be somewhere between a 30-cent to a 32-cent increase. I haven't run the numbers on it, but I think that's where it's going to be, and I think that keeps us competitive.
I think that's appropriate, given just, we want to continue to retain who we have, but it's also just in the current market, it's so hard to get, bring people in at the salaries or the hourly rates that we're offering compared to other businesses, just say in town, and even other school districts. So in order for us to continue to, retain paras and maintenance and janitors and secretaries and so forth, I think we've got to keep on mark with that, and at least that 3 to 3.5%, I think, is the number, personally. Because if we're not doing that, then we're not going to be able to keep people and or even hire people.
Yeah, just getting a feeling of what inflation will end up being. There's so many unknowns right now.
And that's part of the reason, not to like politics, but that 2.5% cap is gonna hurt, because just to be able to retain teachers, administrators, and hourly staff is gonna be nearly impossible without probably cutting programs.
So what I'd like to do, I guess, is I just wanted to talk to you tonight about where those things are operating right now at the April board meeting. Bring a solid number to you, especially for classified salaries. Hopefully at that time we'll also have our new assistant principal hired or ready to make that recommendation to you as well, and then that will also solidify that number and be able to bring it to you.
That's all.
That's all I have.
Since there's no public, it's hard to have anybody come speak. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.